Ward has been around the block a few times. I think it's fair to say he's been around the neighborhood a few times, actually. He is a librarian in waiting at a museum of unnatural history.
Well, librarian in waiting, actually, I was in charge of, the library actually has a waiting room. And what happens is you have to transition from your street voice to silence. So the waiting room is kind of a buffer zone. And my job was to ensure that people lowered the decibel level to a certain degree before they were allowed into the library.
I did not know that. Thank you, Ward, for explaining that. I'll try to be more precise because I know you have said on more than one occasion that you are often misunderstood. Now, you are a consultant to the Society for Dinnerware Standards. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, but frankly, boss, there really hasn't been any changes in cutlery since the fork. The fork was finally finalized design in the 60s.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
in the 50s, I wasn't sure which one to use, the spoon or the knife.
Right. So since that time, I've had to move on, boss. But I'm a man of many talents.
You're an honorary member of the Galloping Moth tribe, as I understand it, right?
That is correct, boss. Although a little known fact about the Galloping Moth, with climate change, moths are their primary source of protein, and with climate change, the moths are dying out. So we're down to 22 members, and we're actually taking applications from Caucasians now.
Oh, so that's how you got in the back door,
right?
So to speak. So to speak. As for this misunderstanding that people have, I think it started with your famous work, The Life Expectancy of Herbivores. Is that right?
Well, actually, it was, again, probably because I tend to mumble, but it's actually the life expectancy of herbivores. And he was tragic.
That's a guy who couldn't get a wife. He wasn't attractive enough for.
Well, he looked a lot like me, so I'd like to think he was attractive. But sadly, he was.
Well, he was an engineer.
He was an engineer.
Yeah.
So, and when he'd go on dates, he would constantly want to bring up various ISO standards.
Now, look, you were. I'm pretty sure that you were an expert on animal husbandry, so I know what that's about. That's animals that you.
Well, sadly, boss, that job never really took off. What happened is I wrote a book on marriage, and I got a lot of feedback from various wives that said their husbands were animals.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So that somehow got transmogrified into animal husbandry.
Well, because you were saying, as I remember it, that husbands were kind of like saints, and these women were telling you that their husbands weren't.
Yeah, they were not. They were far from saints, which gives a whole new meaning to when the saints come marching in, because they kind of march into the divorce lawyer's office.
Okay, well, okay, but I have seen some instructions you wrote. One of those boxes I got from the department store where you do a little assembly yourself, and it's a paper on dealing with migraines, so I guess that's about headaches, right?
Well, again, because I rush my words together when I say migraines, what I actually meant was my grains, because I did a lot of genetic research back in my youth, and so I was able to establish some, for instance, one of my grains that I established is gluten-free wheat, which is, I think, is someday gluten-free wheat is going to take off.
And you are famous for an oatmeal, I think, the Pioneer Oats. I had some of those in my neighborhood. I understand that's. Now I'm beginning to understand why you had to have specific instructions for dealing with migraines, meaning your.
Right, and
the Pioneer Oats.
Frankly, other scientists that specialize in grains are quite jealous of me, so they
So
They're trying to sully my reputation.
Against the Grains is the book you're talking about there, I guess.
Yeah, that's one of my
Yeah.
one of my many prolific. I'm a prolific writer as well, and that's one of my many books.